Please welcome number 17, Wendel Clark.
How you doing, man? Good to see you.
Welcome. I always love having you in the red chair. You have one of the best backyard rinks in your own life, but the idea of Hockeyville and building a rink in another neighborhood has got to be really exciting for you.
Well, it's exciting. We're actually, with Kraft Hockeyville, we're creating and actually making it newer rinks. Like it's refurbishing the old rinks and making them up to date, so it's more fun to be there as a parent. You build the rinks, you think they last forever, but you got to refurbish them, keep them up. The local communities, that's the center. That's where everybody goes to find anybody in a local community. In the wintertime, you start at the rink and then look out.
Sure, and in a lot of parts of the country, it's an old curling rink that was used as a hockey rink. It becomes a multi-purpose facility.
Well, yeah, in all the small communities, the curling rink and the skating rink are all attached. And the parents walk into the curling rink, the kids walk into the skating rink, and the reason is the curling rink has the liquor license.
Are you a good curler?
I've done a lot of curling growing up. My mom and my grandparents all curled. My dad didn't like curling. He said all the lazy people curled and the rest of us played hockey.
Right. What about Clark Gardens?
Clark Gardens, well, I built a little rink when I retired because they wouldn't let me play at the big level anymore, so I built my own rink and got to be my own Zamboni driver.
Yeah.
And
the Zamboni's awesome, by the way. It's like a John Deere tractor pulling a bucket is what it is.
I grew up to be a Zamboni driver, but you know, everybody always thinks it's great outside, beautiful skating outdoors, but you get sick of shoveling.
Yeah.
Snows every day, you got to shovel the rink off. So I put a roof over it and little hot stove lounge there, watch the games on Saturday night, and the kids are on the ice.
What do you remember from those days when you first met Mr. Ballard and first became, because that guy was, what a character.
Well, he was probably the main character here in Toronto when I first got here, and probably just walking into Maple Leaf Gardens, the hot stove, you walk in the side door, you'd never guess that's one of the best restaurants in town. You're walking through the hot stove in the gardens, and then you're walking out into the ice and just playing, and the one end, that's the bunker, where Harold and King Clancy sat for every game that you watched on TV. Then you're actually watching those two guys. They look like the two old guys in the Muppets there sitting at the end of the building, but that was the guys at the end of the rink, and they were such a big part of, he'd be signing autographs and waving to the fans, and it was a big part of playing in the garden.
When you were going through contract negotiations, did you ever accidentally fire the puck in that direction?
No, the glass was just too high.
That's right.
But it was a lot of good memories with the gardens and the history and being able to play in a building. Any of the old original 6 buildings, whether you played in Montreal and Toronto and Boston, all these starring buildings had a history to them, and they were the best buildings to play in.
The game had a different kind of personality back then. What do you think has been the key difference in the personality of the game?
Well, I think because everything got more intense. As the money got bigger, everything became a bigger job. Everything was more serious. Each player is his own little company now, where before you got there, it seemed closer. There was less security. Remember, the glass was only this high. You could reach over and grab the fans on the other side of the glass.
Do you think that there's truth to the story that the bigger and the harder the equipment, that's one of the reasons why the game is less safe? A body check just smokes a guy?
Yeah, the game today is way less violent. You can't get away with stuff because the ref, in the old days, the ref couldn't find you, and their TV games weren't everywhere. There was no video replay. If you did something behind the play to get away with, you could get away with it. Yeah. Where today you can't get away with anything, but the game is so much faster, they're so much bigger, and the equipment's so much better, so the collision is that much harder. So it's actually rougher.
That if you're going to body check me in 1987, I die. If you body check me today with the equipment I'm wearing, I'm going to die, but it'll last a week on life support. Like, it's just
well, they can keep you alive longer now.
They sure
that's
can.
Technology.
But would players have hit as hard wearing the equipment that you guys wore when you first broke into the league?
You wouldn't, because you would have been, and a lot of times you'd have been said, I'm going to hurt myself throwing that check because your equipment wasn't as good. Where today, and starting from the kids on up, the kids feel invincible. They're dressed like gladiators. When I'm on the ice teaching the kids, you got helmets and masks and neck guards, mouth guards. You can't even talk to them in line. They are spitting a mouth guard out, and so you're so well protected, they feel invincible. And what happens is they actually forget to respect themselves because they think, oh, I can't get hurt.
What was it like when you saw your number get lifted to the rafters in Toronto?
That was probably the highlight, or the one of the best things, is after playing a long career, 15 years and 13 of it in Toronto, to be able to watch that banner go up where you played. It put me, up there, and you're just honored to be a part of that building. You're up there with the Salmings, the Sittlers, and Johnny Bowers, and those guys are the guys you looked up to. So that was probably the biggest honor that I had at that stage of my career.
Stick around, more with Wendel Clark right after this. Coming up, Sochi 2014. Who's the one? Wendel's expert opinion next.
No matter how the newsmen write it, it'll be wrong. But on the other hand, it's the truth. We've got the #1 draft choice, and he comes well recommended by our scouts, managers, and anybody that has anything to do with selecting hockey players.
That moment, you know, and I'm sure you've thought much about it and talked about it, but just that moment when this kid from a town of 900 or whatever shows up and it's like, this is Toronto. And here I am, first overall, expectations. The team was okay at best at the moment. And you came in with all this pressure. What was going through your head in that moment?
Probably just trying to make the team, because I remember Harold was drafting me. He says, "What happens if you don't make it?" That was what Harold said in the first when I signed the contract in the summer. But it's you probably don't understand the pressure at 18 as much as people think you do. Yeah. But at 18, you probably have less pressure than you do at 25. Because at 18, everything, when I was there at 18 years old, everything you did every day was new. You're in the dressing room in blue and white jersey. Everything's perfect every day. You could lose 5-0, and I'm still playing in the NHL. Yeah. Like, I'm not playing back home anymore. So it's not as bad as you think. But the guys that have been in the league 5-6 years go, they understand the pressures. They pick up the papers. We're really getting it today type thing. They understand it more. But when you're younger and you're 18, 19, you're just so happy to be there. You finally got there. It doesn't feel as bad, the losses, as it does once you've been there and you want to get to win the big cup.
Over your career, you've had a chance to play with some incredible players and some great goalies too. Breguet made big saves. Remember seeing Felix that first year, massive saves, Cujo saves. When the players go to congratulate a goalie, what are you saying to them when they've made what is clearly a game-saving moment? What do you say to them?
Actually, it's easiest just to say nothing and pat them and get out of there in a hurry. Yeah. Because really, the goalie, you hate to put that kind of pressure on him, but the goalie is the most instrumental part of your hockey team. He is the psyche, the confidence, everything on your whole bench goes by how he's playing. Especially if you're an average team, a good goalie will make you a good team. If you're a great team, then it's tough. You can't beat that team. And that's a bad team. The guy can make the team average. That goalie is a difference in the whole team. A goal scorer is a better goal scorer when he's got that goalie.
But you don't want to get in their head, because goalies are also notoriously very strange.
They're very, very strange.
Yeah. What are we going to do for Sochi? We're approaching the games, the Olympic Games. This is one of those years where we don't have a surefire #1 goalie. We're past the Brodeur dominance era, and now we have questions about who our goalie could be. How do you feel about Team Canada? Well,
maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing that the one guy, whoever it is going to step up and be the guy. Just be that guy. Because the one thing about the Olympics or World Championship or any of these tournaments, it's not like a playoff that starts in April and ends in June. It's something where you got to be great for 2 weeks. Yeah. It's a bunch of one-off games. And so not all the time that the best goalie in the world is the best goalie for 2 weeks. And so we just have to have that guy that's the best guy for 2 weeks. It's a different kind of a tournament. It's not like a playoff. All right, anthropology for Wendel Clark. If you're watching TV and you stumble on a movie, you're not changing the channel. Which movie is it? I don't know, probably Slapshot, no matter how many times it's on. Everybody who's such a, yeah. It's so good. Which romantic comedy are you staying on? Oh, I don't know. I do you cry at movies? No. No? My kids try to get me to go to movies. I don't go to movies. No? No. So is Slapshot the best sports movie of all time? I think so. If you're a hockey guy, it really takes it back to that era of, for us, probably 80s guys, that you watch hockey that was just ahead of us, but yet it kind of was a little bit like we grew up, and so it takes you back there. How many times during the Rob Ford scandal did Ty Domi call you and tell you he wishes he was the mayor? Probably none, and probably stayed away from all that stuff. You did.
How many times during the Rob Ford scandal did you think, you know what, I'm Wendel Clark, I could have been mayor?
I'm glad I'm not.
You got to watch Kraft Hockeyville. Wendell's a part of it. Kraft Hockeyville 2014. Nominations are now open, right? Go to krafthockeyville.cbc.ca. It's always a pleasure to see you, number 17.
Thank you.
Wendel Clark, everybody. We'll be right back.